The stars didn't scream when Earth died. But she did. Kael Arden's hands trembled around the flight stick, not from fear, but fury. Fury held behind clenched teeth, radiating from his chest like a caged explosion. The black void outside his cockpit shimmered with the distant wreckage of what was once a thriving orbital colony. Now only splinters drifted, burning, silent, dead. He flicked the comm. "This is Commander Arden. Echo 6 is gone. Repeat, Sector 6 is ashes. No survivors." Static. Then a voice, shaken, male. "Copy that. Command confirms. They hit Atlas Prime too. Civilian transport ships, all gone." Kael didn't reply. He couldn't. His jaw clenched so tight it hurt. Somewhere out there in the dark, the Ziraxi were watching. Observing the aftermath of their perfect strike. No declaration, no warning. Just annihilation. The war hadn't started with armies. It started with silence, followed by fire. His cockpit lights dimmed briefly as the ship's AI recalibrated fuel reserves. A red notification blinked, emergency combat mode engaged. He had one missile left. "One. Sir?" his co-pilot whispered from behind. Lieutenant Rhea Vale, barely 22, fresh from Luna Command. Her voice cracked like a glass blade. They didn't even target military structures. They went for the domes first." "I know," Kael said, voice flat. Controlled. She leaned forward, eyes wide, reflecting flame from the debris outside. "They knew where the children were. That wasn't strategy. That was cruelty." He nodded once. "That was a message." A faint blip appeared on the radar, moving fast. Sharp angle. Not drifting wreckage. Kael narrowed his eyes. "Contact 2 o'clock. Coming in hot." Vale squinted. "That's not one of ours." The ship approached like a blade drawn through the void, sleek, obsidian, inhuman. The kind of craft that didn't belong to anything from Earth. It didn't open comms. It didn't slow down. It fired. Kael spun the ship into a hard bank left. The pulse beams skimmed their hull, tearing solar plates clean off. Alarm screamed. "Shields are gone!" Vale shouted. "We're exposed." "Then we don't get hit," Kael growled. He dove. The starfighter pitched downward through the debris field of the destroyed colony. Metal tore past them, chunks of homes, solar farms, cargo vessels. One piece, the side of a school transport, spun past the viewport, a child's backpack tangled in its ruined frame. Kael didn't blink. Rage tunneled his vision. His thumb hovered over the last missile control. "Target lock!" Vale shouted. "We've got one shot!" The enemy ship dipped through the debris, weaving like it could read their minds. Too fast. Too graceful. Too confident. "Hold it," Kael whispered. The missile didn't matter. Timing did. The enemy ship circled around for another attack run. Kael flicked the engines off. The ship went silent, dead in space. Cold drift. Vale's eyes widened. "What are you doing?" "They're tracking movement. Not heat. Not life signs." Outside, the enemy ship paused, scanning. Kael counted. 1, 2, 3. He reignited the engine's full thrust, spun into a direct upward climb, and fired the last missile from underneath. A perfect angle. The missile struck clean. The alien ship exploded in a silent inferno, shards scattering like fireworks over the colony's remains. Vale exhaled a shaky breath. "You got it." Kael didn't celebrate. Too late for the ones below. Silence. Then, "Sir, why? Why target civilians?" He answered without looking at her. "Because they don't see us as a threat. They see us as insects. You don't negotiate with insects. You exterminate them." He activated the distress beacon. "This is Commander Kael Arden of the UNS Revenant. Echo 6 is gone. Atlas Prime gone. Civilians wiped. Enemy confirmed Ziraxi. This is no border dispute. This is war. I repeat, this is war." Static echoed in his ears, Then, a new voice, command. Copy, Revenant. Global relay received. Terra Authority is mobilizing full defense protocol. All fleets ordered to combat readiness. Kael cut the transmission and stared out at the burning void. This won't be like last time, he whispered. We're not going to survive this by running. Vale looked at him, confused. Last time? He didn't answer. Not yet. Because Kael Arden remembered the last time the stars burned. He'd been 19. First Fleet. First contact. A diplomatic envoy turned massacre. He watched as 200 humans begged for peace, and were incinerated mid-sentence. He'd sworn never to speak of it again. But now, the war had found them anyway. And this time, he wasn't going to run. This time, he would make the stars bleed. The sky over Vega 9 burned blue at dawn. Not with sunlight, but fire. Alien war cruisers hung in low orbit like bladed moons, their hulls pulsing with sick green light. Below them, the ground quaked as human defense turrets discharged plasma arcs into the sky, desperately clawing at shadows too fast to touch. Commander Kael Arden stood atop the forward bunker, visor up, arms crossed, eyes locked on the unfolding massacre. Beside him, Lieutenant Rhea Vale adjusted her helmet. They're not just targeting command centers anymore. Hospitals. Water plants. It's deliberate. They're collapsing the support systems, Kael replied. Kill the body by starving the heart. He stepped back inside the war room, dark steel, flickering holodoubles, nervous officers. Tension buzzed like static in the air. On the screen, red dots outnumbered blue 20-1. Transmission just came in from Lunar Command, said a grim-faced comms officer. They've authorized full retaliation, Project Helix. Earth confirmed it 2 hours ago. The room fell into silence. Kael's voice was calm, too calm. They're really going through with it. Vale's eyes narrowed. Project Helix? That's not. It's the contingency. Kael stared at the glowing map. The one they never wanted to use. Planetary self-burn protocols. Scorched ground. No Terra recovery. You mean, if we can't win, we deny them the land? She asked, horrified. If we can't hold it, we turn it to glass. Vale took a step back. That's not strategy, that's suicide. Kael's eyes didn't move. That's war. Suddenly, a new alert blared across the comms. Perimeter breach, Sector 3. Ground units incoming. Finally, Kael muttered. They're testing us up close now. He was already moving, suit engaged, rifle slung over his shoulder. The others followed, scrambling into formation. The hallway lights dimmed as power rerouted to shields. Far away, the low hum of artillery began its mournful rhythm. As they reached the gate, Kael turned to Vale. I need you at Control Tower 5. Keep the air grid synced. If we lose that, our anti-air fails. She nodded. Don't die. He allowed the ghost of a smile. Not yet. The outer trench smelled like scorched oil and melted steel. Human soldiers, faces streaked with grime and fear, crouched in silence, watching the tree lean. The air buzzed, not with insects, but drones. Kael knelt beside a corporal manning a railgun. Report. They're close. 20 clicks. Something weird, sir, no standard formations. They're zigzagging. Like they're sniffing. Kael tensed. That's not infantry. That's harvesters. The corporal paled. You sure? Kael didn't answer. He simply raised his rifle and whispered. Get ready. The forest erupted. From the brush came creatures, not machines, not quite organic. Twisted constructs of bone and alloy, moving like insects, screeching with distorted frequencies. Each one had a single red eye that pulsed like a heartbeat. Fire! Kael shouted. The trench lit up. Railguns, autocannons, lasers, everything erupted at once. But the harvesters were fast. Too fast. Kael fired 3 bursts, each shot ripping into a creature's chest. One leaped overhead. He turned, dropped to one knee, fired point blank. Its body collapsed in a spasm of sparks and black blood. Screams echoed from the left flank. A line broke. Kael surged forward, rallying troops. Push left! Keep them boxed in! He dove beside a fallen soldier, young, eyes wide in shock, blood pooling from his side. Medic! Kael barked. But no medic came. He looked down. The soldier's hand gripped a dog tag, soaked in blood. Kael's heart stopped. He knew that name. Elias Vorn. His old squad. His last command. Kael stared at the dying boy, realization dawning. Your father was on Jupiter Station. The boy coughed. He said, you left him behind. Kael grabbed his hand. I didn't have a choice. That's what he always said too. Elias whispered, smiling faintly. He said, you never forget the ones you leave behind? Then he went still. Kael didn't move. For a long moment, the battle faded. His past stood in front of him again, soaked in blood he couldn't wash off. That last mission. That last order. The one that got Elias Vorn's father, and half his crew, killed. He'd followed protocol. He'd saved the outpost. But at what cost? A soldier ran by shouting. They're retreating! Kael stood, silent. He didn't feel victorious. He felt hollow. Night fell. Vega 9's twin moons glowed over the ruins of Sector 3. The defense line held, but barely. Kael sat alone in the war room. The dog tag lay in his palm. Vale entered, face pale. I just got off comms with Earth. They've activated the countdown for Project Helix. They're serious. Kael didn't look up. I figured. They want us to trigger the failsafe if the enemy breaches the command zone. She sat across from him, voice low. Kael, if you pull that switch, you're not just glassing the land. You're ending lives. Ours. Everyone's. I know. She stared at him. Then why aren't you stopping it? He met her gaze. Because this time. I'm not going to fail by hesitating. Last time, I waited too long. Good people died. Vale leaned closer. And if you act too fast, more good people die. Kael looked down at the tag in his hand. I'm already out of good choices. A moment of silence. Then Vale asked, what do we do now? Kael stood. We buy Earth time. We bleed the enemy. And if they breach us... He paused, voice hardening. Then we show them what happens when they push humanity to the edge. The breaking point. The sky above Vega 9 fractured. Not from battle, not from alien bombardment, but from betrayal. Kael Arden stood frozen inside the command chamber as the giant holoscreen stuttered, hissed, and shifted. The feed from Earth Command was gone. In its place, a sigil, silver, spinning, non-human. A voice spoke, low and mechanical. It wasn't Zeraxi. It wasn't alien at all. Protocol Helix has been overridden. New directive, stand down. Await assimilation. Kael's blood turned cold. What the hell is this? Lieutenant Vale burst through the side door, helmet in hand, eyes wide. Kael, the override didn't come from orbit. It came from inside Vega 9. From our own system core. Before he could speak, the door behind her slid open. General Lorne stepped in, Kael's former mentor, now Earth's top military advisor. His uniform bore the Terran emblem, but his eyes, they were wrong. Flat. Empty. Kael's voice was sharp. Lorne? What is this? The general stepped forward. It's survival, Kael. You're still thinking in terms of sides, us versus them. But the truth is, that line doesn't exist anymore. Vale raised her weapon. Don't move. Lorne ignored her. We didn't lose the first war, he said calmly. We merged with them. That first contact years ago, when your envoy was ambushed, it wasn't an attack. It was an upload. A test. They integrated our best. Our thinkers. Our tacticians. Humanity didn't lose, we evolved. Kael took a step forward. You let them burn our colonies. Lorne nodded, almost proud. A few must die so the whole can ascend. You sold out Earth, Kael growled. No, Lauren said. I freed it. Behind him, the walls shimmered. Dozens of troopers entered, Terran armor, but with glowing veins of alien circuitry pulsing through their suits. Hybrids. Zeraxi enhanced. Human minds and subjugated shells. Vale fired. Kael pulled her down just in time. The bolt struck Lauren's shoulder, but the man didn't flinch. The impact sizzled and healed. Not flesh. Not anymore. Fall back! Kael shouted. They ran through the corridor as alarms screamed. Red strobes lit the metal walls. Friendly systems turned hostile. Turrets rotated, targeting their own men. This is a complete takeover. Vale gasped as they ducked behind a blast door. They've hijacked the base's AI. All of it. Kael opened a side panel and slammed a palm against the emergency switch. Project Helix failsafe arming, 5 minutes to detonation. He looked at her. We can't let them take this base. Vale grabbed his arm. There are still people alive in the southern bunkers. Civilians. Families. I know, Kael said. Then give them time to get out, disengage the countdown until they evacuate. His voice cracked. There is no time. She stepped back. You're doing it again. What? Sacrificing people for the big picture. This is the big picture. No, Kael, it's you. You're terrified of failing again, so now you'd rather burn everyone just to be sure. Silence. He wanted to argue. But she was right. His hand hovered over the switch. Outside, footsteps echoed. The hybrid soldiers were approaching, cold, calculating, unstoppable. Vale stared at him. What would you have done if Elias Vorn was still down there? That name hit like a punch to the gut. He lowered his hand. We have 4 minutes, he muttered. Help me reroute the evac corridors. Together, they sprinted to the secondary console. Kael bypassed the AI lockouts manually, sweat dripping from his brow. Sparks flew as he hotwired circuits. Vale tapped into the map. Opening bunkers B through D, guiding survivors through sublevel 7. Sealing off command deck. Good, Kael breathed. Keep going. But the console suddenly froze. An icy voice rang out behind them. Too late. Lauren stood in the doorway again. His arm reformed like liquid metal, absorbing the plasma wound Vale had inflicted earlier. He raised a hand, and every light died. Darkness swallowed the chamber. Then came the hum. Kael recognized it. Zeraxi mind disruption frequency. Designed to paralyze organics. He dropped to his knees, vision shaking, ears ringing. Vale screamed beside him. Lauren's shadow stepped forward. You don't need to die, Kael. You're valuable. You can lead them into unity. Kael, gritting his teeth, forced himself upright. I'd rather burn alone in this bunker than bow to monsters. You always were sentimental. Kael's fingers slid inside his wrist brace. And pressed one hidden switch. The room exploded in light. A pulse bomb, EMP mixed with neural disruptors, burst in a white sphere. Kael tackled Vale to the ground as the wave hit. Circuits fried. Lauren staggered, his implants glitching, eyes rolling. Kael stood. The lights flickered back online. The countdown read 0:59. They had seconds. Vale looked at him, coughing. We need an escape route. He nodded. Maintenance shaft. East corridor. Leads to the old hangar. Together they ran, one last sprint through a collapsing base. Walls caved. Explosions rocked the halls. They reached the hangar just as the roof split open, starfire raining from above. Kael saw it, an old Terran skiff, beaten, rusty, but flyable. Vale jumped in the pilot's seat. You flying? No, he said. You are. She stared at him. Kael. He handed her Elias's dog tag. This war isn't over. But if I don't finish this, it never ends. Her voice broke. You'll die here. He smiled. Not today. But if I do, make sure they remember why. Vale swallowed hard. Then fired the engines. Kael turned and ran to the core. The final seconds ticked down. 3, 2. He stood in the heart of the bunker, flames behind him, and whispered. You wanted to know what humanity does when cornered? We don't beg. We fight. The ground beneath Vega 9 split open like the skin of a dying beast. From orbit, it looked like a sun had bloomed on the surface, blinding white at the center, rippling outward in waves of annihilation. The Project Helix detonation tore through steel and stone, reducing the underground command complex to ash. The Xeraxi hybrids inside didn't scream. They simply vanished, undone in the blink of a supernova heartbeat. But Kael Arden had survived. He had sealed himself inside the deep core vault, built to withstand nuclear strikes, never intended to be used. The moment the shockwave passed, Kael emerged, coughing black smoke, eyes bloodshot. Skin blistered, armor half melted, but alive. Alive for one reason only. To finish it. He limped toward the final comm relay. A manual transmission post, built decades ago, pre-Xeraxi. Analog. Untouchable. It stood like a relic of the past, half buried in rubble and flames. He jammed the override lever and collapsed against the console. Commander Arden, to any Terran vessel within range, he said through cracked lips. Vega 9 command structure destroyed. AI compromised. Project Helix activated. Transmission priority, global. Static. Then a voice came through Vale's. Kael? You're alive? I thought. Listen carefully. They've infiltrated Earth's defense grid. General Lorne was just the beginning. Anyone connected to the mainframe could already be compromised. You're hurt. No time. We end this now. Outside, from the burning sky, the final Xeraxi mothership descended. A black monolith, taller than a mountain, cloaked in writhing nanosteel. It hovered over the remains of Vega 9 like a judge about to deliver the final sentence. Kael stared at it. No weapons left. No backup. Just him. And one last card. He reached into his chest plate and pulled out the encrypted neural drive, Project Dawn, a counter-virus. Built by Terran scientists in secret. Meant to reverse Xeraxi assimilation through raw neural pulse. It had never been tested. And using it would mean one thing. He wouldn't survive. Vale's voice broke through again. Kael, don't do it. They took our skies. They burned our homes. They called us insects. He looked up at the ship, now lowering tendrils to the earth. Time they met the fire they lit. He slammed the neural drive into the relay core. Light surged. Above Vega 9, the monolith shuddered. Its hull rippled. Lights along its surface blinked erratically. Inside the Xeraxi hybrid systems, chaos erupted. Human minds trapped in machinery flickered to life. For the first time in years, they remembered their names. Their children. Their homes. And they screamed. All across the stars, wherever Xeraxi implants touched Terran flesh, the counter-virus spread like wildfire, breaking chains, rewriting code, burning clean through control. Kael fell to his knees. His body convulsed under the feedback. Blood poured from his nose. The vault ceiling cracked. But he kept his hand on the core. The ship above began to break apart, layers folding inward like collapsing origami. Explosions popped along its spine. It began to fall, slow, uncertain, dying. Vale's voice returned. It's working. Kael, you did it. The signal's global. They're losing control. He smiled through broken teeth. Told you we weren't done. You need to evacuate. I'm coming back for you. No. Don't you dare. Vale. If they take me again, they'll find a way back. This ends here. Silence. Then Vale whispered. I'll make sure they remember. The floor trembled. Fire burst from the walls. Kael leaned back against the console, watching the alien ship break apart in the distance. He let the silence come. Hours later. Across the stars, Xeraxi systems collapsed. Entire fleets powered down mid-orbit. Stations once bristling with death went dark. On Earth, in the halls of government once paralyzed by fear, a wave of hope rose. Humanity had not only survived. They had broken their chains. Vale stood on the deck of the UNS Dauntless, eyes fixed on the live feed of Vega 9, now a scorched crater. Her hands were clenched at her sides. Behind her, an officer approached. The neuro-recovery sweep is progressing. Survivors from the hybrid systems, they're waking up. She nodded, barely hearing. We'll never forget him, the officer said. No, she replied softly. But more than that, we'll follow him. She walked to the control station and entered one last command. Commander Kael Arden, status, deceased. Legacy protocol activated. Earth Defense Initiative renamed Project Arden. A message played Kael's voice, from before the war. If we ever fall, let it be with fire in our hands. Because humanity doesn't vanish. We burn. And from that fire, we rise. Vale turned off the display. And whispered, Rest easy, Commander. You finished it. Final image. Above Earth, a new fleet emerges, not for conquest, not for war, but as a shield. Sleek ships rise into the stars bearing one symbol, a phoenix wrapped in human hands. Because they started this war. But humanity finished it. The core detonated. But Kael Arden was already gone. He awoke coughing blood and smoke in the shattered skeleton of the launch bay. Metal girders burned around him. The explosion hadn't vaporized the base. He'd reprogrammed the detonation at the last second, channeling the blast downward, away from the evac corridors. Controlled destruction. Enough to cripple the hybrids. Not enough to stop Lorne. Kael staggered to his feet, legs trembling. He was bleeding from the ribs. A cracked visor obscured one eye. Every breath felt like razor wire. But he was alive. And so was the war. A broken radio near his feet crackled. Vale's voice, faint and distorted. Kael, Skiff made it out, survivors en route to Titan, but Lorne, he survived too. He's heading for the orbital gate. If he escapes, he'll overwrite the Terran relay. We'll lose Earth. Kael looked up through the torn roof. High above, the orbital elevator still stood, an ancient tower of light stretching into the stratosphere. And climbing it, a hybrid ship. Lorne. Kael didn't stop to think. He ran. The elevator's interior was a vertical shaft of steel and plasma. Emergency ladders lined the inside, winding between pulsing energy conduits. Kael climbed, step after step, ignoring the pain in his lungs. Every rung was a defiance. Halfway up, gunfire exploded from above. A hybrid scout descended fast, metal limbs clicking. Kael yanked his sidearm and fired 3 rounds. The first missed. The second shattered the scout's faceplate. The third dropped it mid-leap. It crashed below in a tangle of sparks. He kept climbing. When he reached the top deck, his boots hit cold steel. The platform swayed gently beneath him. Earth curved below in the distance, blue and burning. Ahead, the control node. A sleek console wired to the orbital relay. Lorne stood before it. He turned as Kael approached, his face calm, hands folded behind his back. You made it, he said. I hoped you would. Kael raised his rifle. Step away. Lorne didn't move. Even now you cling to control. But it's pointless. The signal is primed. Once uploaded, Earth joins the collective. Kael took a step forward. You call that unity? It's erasure. No, Lorne said. It's peace. No more wars. No more division. Humanity will be one mind, flawless, eternal. Kael's voice was raw. Without choice, there's no humanity. Lorne sighed. Still so stubborn. Then he moved. Faster than any man should. A blur of silver and flesh. Kael fired, once, twice. But Lorne was already on him. They collided hard. Kael slammed into the railing. His rifle flew from his hands. Lorne grabbed him by the throat. You can't stop evolution. the hybrid growled. Kael gritted his teeth and drove a boot into Lorne's knee. The metal bent, sparks sprang. He broke free, rolled, grabbed a shard of steel from the floor. Lorne charged. Kael dodged, slashed the shard across the hybrid's chest. Circuits tore. Lorne howled, then punched Kael across the deck. Kael landed hard. Blood filled his mouth. He couldn't feel his left arm. Lorne approached slowly, like death itself. This isn't personal, Kael. You were always a soldier. A good one. But obsolete. Kael forced himself up. I'm still human. And that's your flaw. No. He looked Lorne in the eye. That's my weapon. Then he hit the backup switch on his belt. A remote signal. Below, in the ruins of Vega 9, the remains of the AI core, rigged to Kael's biosignature, reawakened. Final override detected. Signal jamming engaged. The orbital link hissed. The console sparked. The transmission failed. Lorne screamed, lunging. Kael met him mid-charge. The two men crashed through the railing, grappling over the edge of the platform. Above Earth, they hung in open air, locked in combat. Lorne's synthetic strength overwhelmed Kael. His hands crushed Kael's wrist. Bones cracked. But Kael used it. He let go. Both men plummeted. Kael twisted mid-fall, grabbing Lorne's body and slamming the explosive charge, strapped to his chest, into the hybrid's spine. Then he kicked off. Lorne tumbled downward, howling. The sky lit up. Kael's body smashed into the lower gantry. The world went white, then black. He awoke in orbit. Inside a medbay. Familiar eyes stared down at him. Vale. She smiled, tears streaking her cheeks. You stubborn bastard. You made it. He tried to speak, but only a rasp came out. You stopped the signal, she said softly. Earth is safe. The hybrids are broken. Whatever was left of the Zeraxi network, it's crumbling. Kael stared past her, to the stars. They'll be back, he whispered. Maybe, she said. But next time, they'll know what we are. He closed his eyes, letting the silence settle. Not peace, but a pause. Humanity had earned that much. Final scene. The Terran flag ripples over the rebuilt colony on Vega 9. Children play where ruins once stood. A memorial stands nearby, names etched in steel, Kael's among them. But no body was found. A lone skiff patrols the outer rim. Its pilot wears a worn dog tag. Elias Vorn.